I'm sitting here at the dentist office waiting on Kent to get his teeth looked at, and decided I'd do my Bible study for this evening. It's from a Max Lucado Bible study. I realize this is probably backwards or whatever to y'all, but there it is. And this lesson is called Faith That Becomes Fear. And it's something I never thought of before about Peter walking on the water. So let me read the story real quick to you. It says, "But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with the waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit, and they cried out for fear. But straightway Jesus spoke unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, for it is I, do not be afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me to come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind was boisterous, he was afraid, and began to sink, and cried, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand, and caught him, and said unto him, Be thou, O thou of little faith, wherefore dost thou doubt? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. Then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth, thou art the Son of God. So I never really thought about it before, but they were terrified, especially the fishermen, because they had been through storms, and they knew that this storm was the kind of storm that could literally kill you. So they were afraid. And it says, look into Peter's eyes and see. You won't see a man of conviction. Search his face, and you won't find a gusty grimace. You will only find a suffocating, heart-racing fear of a man who had no way out. But out of this fear would be born an act of faith, for faith is often the child of fear. Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came to Jesus. So many times it's fear, our fear of the future, our fear of illness, our fear of some catastrophe. Here lately in southeast Missouri, it's been fear of tornadoes, because we've had a lot of them with a lot of destruction, and a lot of people have been killed, and it's really sad. But so many times we have to realize that that fear should drive us to Jesus. It says he knew where he would rather be. Peter knew where he would rather be, and he cried out for Jesus. There is nothing wrong with his response. Faith that brings fear will end up near the Father. And later on in the book it says, however, we cannot have the peace of God until through Jesus we have experienced faith or peace with God. Sorry, let me read that again. It says, however, we cannot have the peace of God until through Jesus we have experienced peace with God. Faith has to come first. And then there's a sentence, a paragraph that I really like. I want to read it before I finish. It says, faith is not born at a negotiating table where we barter our gifts or our works, it could say, in exchange for God's goodness. Faith is not an award given to the most learned. It is not a prize given to the most disciplined. It is not a title bequeathed to the most religious. Faith is a desperate dive out of a sinking boat of human effort and prayer that God will be there to pull us out. It goes on, it says, Paul wrote about this kind of faith in a letter to his Ephesians. It says, For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and not of yourselves. It is a gift from God, not by works of righteousness, lest any man should boast. Paul is clear. The supreme force in salvation is God's grace, not our works, not our talents, not our feelings, and not our strength. Salvation is God's sudden, calming presence during the stormy sea of our lives. We hear his voice, and we take that step. Have you taken that step? Have you taken that step toward Jesus? Lord, I just lift up everyone who's listening or reading or hearing this message, and I pray, Lord God, that you would speak to their hearts, that you would touch their lives, and that you would bring into their hearts faith that will bring peace and joy into their life. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And you can make any comments you want to. I really like reading the comments. Thank you. Bye.